Hello and welcome back to another AP3 video, and in today's video we'll be doing SAT math questions, advanced math, more specifically nonlinear functions. And again, like we did in the last video, we'll be doing 3 easy, 3 medium, and 3 hard type of questions that can pop up on the SAT in module 1 or in module 2. The question asks the following: the function f is defined by f of x equals 4 plus the square root of x. What is the value of f of 144? So what are we given? We're given an equation of f of x equals 4 plus the square root of x. So I'm going to rewrite that. 4 plus square root of x. And we're looking for, obviously, the value of f on equals 144. So when f, so I'm going to draw it in red, or green, actually. So when f is 144. The good thing about f 144 is that 144 is our x value. This is our x value, and f44 also equals the y value. So we can rewrite the equation as y equals, or in this case we'll write it as f144 to understand that we're plugging into the equation. So f of 144 equals 4 plus the square root. I just plug in 144 here in x, 144. So I get 4 plus the square root of 144 is 12. So I get 4 plus 12, and all I have to do now is add up 4 and 12 to get 16, and that is our answer. And this is not a decimals question, unfortunately. Actually, I think it is a decimals question now that I'm seeing it. It is a decimals question. If you plug it in, you should realize when you plug in 144, you should get the y value of 16. Okay, let's do a different question now. Before I start anything, this is a decimals question. So you can plug it in and you can get the answer. But before I do that, let's understand on how to do it normally. If f of x equals x squared minus 6x plus 3 divided by x minus 1, what is f minus 1? Or f negative 1, sorry. So let me rewrite the equation of f of x. We're given that f of x equals x squared minus 6x plus 3, and it's divided by x minus 1, and we're looking for the value when f is negative 1. So what I have to do now is plug in negative 1 for every x value, and that basically equals, so follow my lead here, negative 1 squared minus 6 multiplied by negative 1 plus 3, and then divided by negative 1. So negative 1 minus 1. So if I simplify it, I get negative 1 squared equals positive 1 minus negative 6 multiplied by negative 1 gives me positive 6, so positive 6, and then plus 3 divided by negative 1 minus 1, which gives us negative 2. So let me rewrite that. So then this is over negative 2. Which if I add 1 plus 6 plus 3, that equals 10 divided by negative 2, and then 10 divided by negative 2 equals negative 5. So the answer is A. Now, if you plug it into decimals right over here, as shown, we're given this equation, right? Now, this looks very confusing, but all we're looking for, what's the value of y when x equals negative 1? And if I look at the graph, we can see the point that when it equals negative 1, the x value equals negative 5 right here, as shown. Right over here. So when x equals negative 1, y equals negative 5. So the answer is A if you plug it into decimals. And decimals is really important, which is why I'm showing you that these type of questions are simple, but you can plug it into decimals to save a lot of time on other questions you are having trouble in the actual SAT. Now, we're given a different question, but there's decimals. Fortunately, the decimals that we need to plug in for x is pretty simple, and this is, again, another decimals question. So we'll go over how to use decimals in this question. But before that, again, like we did in the previous question, let's go over how to do it the normal way. So we're given f of x equals x plus 0.25x, which is multiplied by 50 minus x. The function of f is defined above. What is the value of f is 20? So I'm going to rewrite f of x in blue. So f of x equals parentheses x plus 0.25x, so 0.25x, multiplied by 50, different parentheses, 50 minus x. And we're looking for when it equals, when f is 20, or when x equals 20, and we plug that into that f of x to look for it. So now what I have to do now is plug in 20 to the f of x to look for the value of y when f or x equals 20. So f of 20 equals 20 plus 0.25 multiplied by 20, and then close parentheses and then open parentheses of 50 minus 20. So if we simplify it, we get 20 plus 0.25 times 20, or 20 divided by 1/4 equals 5. So 20 plus 5, and then multiplied by 50 minus 20, which gives us 30. So now what I have to do is add the 20 and the 5, which equals 25, then multiplied by 30. And now I gotta look for what 25 times 30 equals. So the good thing about decimals is that you can plug that in. So instead of doing the math on paper, let me rewrite this. I can do 25 times 30, and that equals 750. So the answer is C. So now let's plug in the equation. So f of x or y equals, so I'm gonna rewrite it right now really quickly. 0.25x, close parentheses, and then 50 minus x. And we're looking for the value when f equals 20. So if I go to 20 for x, so let me zoom out really quickly, look for when it equals 20, which should be around here. As I can see, when it equals 20, let me look for the point. When x equals 20, I get roughly, well, let me look for it really quickly. When it equals 20, I get 750. So the answer would be C. Right here. So 20, when x equals 20, y equals 750. Okay, now we're done with the easy questions. Let's go to medium questions now. This question might be a little bit difficult, so I'm gonna take my time for you guys to understand what exactly they're asking. So the function f is defined above, which is f of x equals parentheses x plus 4, and then another parentheses x minus 1, and another parentheses 2x minus 3. Which of the following is not an x-intercept of the graph of the function at x and y plane? So this is a decimals question, which is very important, because you'll see why you can solve this question once you plug in the function in less than 10 seconds. But let's go through each answer to figure out if it makes the statement true. So what is an x-intercept, first of all? So an x-intercept is any value of x when, so this is important, when y equals 0. So for example, if I have y equals x plus 6, I'm looking for the x-intercept. I make y equals 0. So 0 equals x plus 6. I minus 6 on both sides, and I get x equals negative 6. And that's how you look for the x-intercept when y equals 0. So in this case, we want to be able that when we plug in either a, b, c, or d, we should make both functions equal each other. What do I mean? Look at answer A. So A is negative 4, 0. So let me rewrite the f of x. So f of x equals x plus 4, and then x minus 1, and then 2x minus 3. If I were to plug in f when it equals negative 4, and then y equals 0, that would give me, so this equals y, or 0, which then equals, you plug in negative 4 on x, every single x value, so negative 4 plus 4, sorry. And then I do x minus 1, and then, oh, sorry, I made a mistake here. It would be, negative 4 minus 1. That is my mistake. Negative 4 minus 1, and then 2 multiplied by negative 4 minus 3. So now I gotta see a pattern. Notice something right here. When I do negative 4 plus 4, I get 0. And notice how the other two parentheses after that one, they're all multiplying. Because one of the parentheses equals 0, the whole function equals 0 because they're all multiplying to each other. Anytime a number, constant, or anything that's multiplied by 0 is always going to equal 0. Therefore, when I plug in -4, -4, both sides give me 0. So A has an x-intercept. So that is the wrong answer because we're looking for a value that is not the x-intercept. So let me do B now. So I'm going to do it over here. So f of -2/3 equals, so remember f of x equals y, so it equals 0, which also equals, so -2/3. I'm just plugging the x value, plus 4, and then -2/3 minus 1. And if I do 2 multiplied by -2/3 minus 3. So let me simplify the last parentheses. So if I were to multiply the parentheses that's given right now in order to figure out the value, I would get the following. I would get negative everything. So let me rewrite it, sorry. So I would get I would get positive, because 12, I would get positive 10/3 multiplied by, since they're both subtracting, it's minus 5/3. And then if we simplify the right side, I would get -4/3 multiplied by -3/1. These two cancel out, and because it's negative, I get positive 4. Notice how there's no 0 value. Therefore, B is one of our answers, or B is a possible answer. So I'm going to circle B for now. So I'm going to prove C and D to make sure that they both have x-intercepts. And if they both have x-intercepts, C and D are incorrect. So f of 1 equals x, so 1 plus 4, and then 1 minus 1, and then 2x minus 3. So look at the middle of parentheses. 1 minus 1 equals 0. Therefore, the whole function equals 0. Because f of x equals y equals 0, and c, so 0 equals 0. Therefore, c cannot be one of my answers either. And let's do D just to make sure that B is correct. So f of 3/2 equals, so 3/2 plus 4, and then 3/2 minus 1, and the last parentheses, 2 multiplied by 3/2 minus 3. And look at the last parentheses. The 2's cancel out, so I'm left with, 3/1 minus 3, or just simply 3 minus 3, which that gives me 0. So all of the 3 parentheses on the right side of x, they all are multiplied by 0. So again, a equals 0, and y equals 0. So we get again 0 equals 0, and therefore D is incorrect. Therefore B is our answer. I made a mistake because I thought it equals 0, but instead all values had a number instead of 0, so B is the correct answer. But remember I said you can use decimals. So let's look at decimals now. Notice how there's 3 x-intercepts, -4, -1, and a 1.5 or 3/2. Notice how there's no -2 divided by 3. Therefore, the only answer is B, because B is the only one that is not a x-intercept. So when you plug it in, the f of x, you get 3 x-intercepts, and B is not one of them. Which is why when you plug it into decimals, this question can be solved in less than 10 seconds. Okay, this is another medium question. It's a little bit different because it's a word problem and there's a lot of information. But you can use decimals to figure out what they're asking for. But it's not necessarily like, oh, what's an x, what's the y value? You'll see what I mean once I read the question. The function above models the height h and phi of an object above the ground t seconds after being launched up in the air. What does 72 mean represent in the function? So we have the function of h of t equals -16 t squared plus 110t plus 72. So I'm going to rewrite it in the bottom. So h of t equals -16t squared plus 110t plus 72. So before I do anything right now, let's make one thing clear. T is x, so t equals x, and then h of t equals y. So h of t equals y, or height or h equals y. So h equals y as well. So we're given the information. We're given that it shows the height of an object t seconds after it's being launched straight up. And they're asking us, what does 72 mean in the function? Okay, so let's see. A, the initial height in feet of the object. So the initial height is basically where when x equals 0, we get that answer. And then we're given b, the maximum height in feet of the object, and it gives us the initial speed in feet per second, and then the maximum speed in feet per second. So obviously we're given that this is the height. The equation that's given, it gives us the height of the object. So automatically D and C are incorrect because speed is t and t is x. So let's see. So the initial height of something is where we plug in t or x equals 0. So if it equals 72, then A should be incorrect. And let's plug it. So if I do h of 0, that gives me negative 16, 0 squared, plus 110 multiplied by 0 plus 72. Remember, anything multiplied by 0 is what? 0. So I get 0 plus 0 plus 72. And 72 is the only number I have left. So h of 0 equals 72. So therefore, my answer is A. The maximum height of the maximum height in feet of the object is incorrect because when I plug x equals 0, I get 72. And remember, I said this is a Desmos question, so let's make sure that the question is true. So we're looking for the y-intercept because when x equals 0, we have a y number and y is our y-intercept in this situation. So when I look at 72, I see when x equals 0, y equals 72. So A is incorrect because it gives us the initial height of an object 0 seconds after being launched. So when t equals 0, y equals 72, which is the y-intercept, which is also the initial height. The maximum height in this case would be when the parabola reaches the top. And as we can see, it keeps going on for a very long time. But if I zoom out and see, the maximum height is when y equals 261 and then the decimals following it. Therefore, B is incorrect. And C and D is incorrect because they're talking about speed, and speed is t, which equals x, and they're not talking about height, which is h or y. Okay, let's do a different question now. And you guessed it, this is another Desmos question. Damn, it looks like Desmos is a really good tool, right? Yes, you can literally solve questions like these in literally less than a minute. And then you can move on to a harder question. Or you can solve it normally to figure out the answer. So the question shows the following. If the given function f is graphed in the x and y plane where y equals f of x, what is the x-intercept of the graph? So remember, x-intercept is when y equals 0 and then x equals any number. So let me write the f of x equation. So f of x equals x squared minus 18x minus 360. And we're looking for the x-intercept, so I'm going to make f of x equals 0. So 0 equals x squared minus 18x minus 360. So now let's plug in every single value of a, b, c, and d and figure out when does x equal 0. So if I were to plug in, actually, before we plug in anything, let's see if we can factor it. So factoring, there's many ways you can solve this question, honestly. You can use a quadratic equation, you can use factoring, you can just plug in every single variable. But I think in this situation, I want to show the quadratic equation so you guys can understand how to use it and what it is. So the quadratic formula is basically written as negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, and then over to a, and I'm able to find my two x values plugging this in. So you're gonna need a calculator, honestly, because this is gonna be a very big number, but you're able to find the answer. So let's plug our a, b, and c values. But before, let's determine it. Remember the quadratic equation. So ax squared minus or plus bx and then plus c. So a is, in this example, a equals 1, b equals negative 18, and c equals negative 360. So let's plug that into the quadratic equation. So negative b, or 18 plus or minus the square root of b squared. B squared, if you do 18 squared, you get 324. So plus minus square root of 324 minus 4 multiplying by negative multiplying. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I keep doing the lines. But multiplying by negative 360 and then multiplying by 1. So now let's, oh yeah, and then over 2a. So 2a, a equals 1, so it's just over 2. So let me rewrite it on the left side now. So then 18 plus minus square root. So if I were to do negative 4 multiplied by negative 360, that gives me a positive number. So 4 times 360 equals 1,440. And then plus 324, you should be getting 1,764. So then plus or minus the square root of 1,764. And I'm plugging this all in the calculator. And then over 2. So if you look for the square root of this number, we should get 42. So then 18 plus minus 42 divided by 2. Let me erase this. The good thing about this type of question is that we can we can divide everything by 2. And if we divide everything by 2, we get 9 plus minus 21. So now I look for my x values now. So 9 plus 21. So this is what our x values. So x equals these two. Or as we can recall it, remember, we're looking for the x-intercepts when y equals 0. So x equals 9 plus minus 21, and that gives us our two x values, or two x-intercepts. So let's do plus 21. So x equals 9 plus 21. That gives me x equals 30. So that is one of our values. But as you can see, the only 30 here is negative 30. So B is incorrect. So let's plug in when x minus 21. So x equals 9 minus 21. That equals x equals negative 12. And the answer of the x-intercept here is A. So A is our correct answer, which equals negative 12. Now, if we plug that into Desmos, which I did over here, I get two x-intercepts. I get negative 12 and I get 30. And as we can see, 30 in the answer choices is negative. So B is incorrect. D is positive 12. And in Desmos, it's negative 12. So D is incorrect. 360, I don't know where you get that from. The only answer that can work here is A, because it's an x-intercept of the graph. Okay, now we're going to do hard questions. And again, this is another Desmos question. Another Desmos question, and now let's read the equation, or the question. So the quadratic equation x is defined as shown. So h of x equals 2, parentheses x minus 4 squared minus 32 in the x and y plane. The graph of h of x intersects the x-axis at points 0, 0, and 0t, where t is a constant. What is the value of t? So we're given an equation, and we're given that y equals h of x intersects that x-axis at point 0, 0, and t0. Notice how 0, 0, and t0 have y equaling 0. Therefore, these two over here are both x-intercepts because y equals 0. Because y equals 0. And we're looking at t is a constant. So t is a constant, and what is the value of t? So let me rewrite h of x, which equals 2, parentheses x minus 4 squared minus 32. When I plug in 0, so h of 0 equals 2, because 0 is just 0, I'll just rewrite x minus 4 as 2 multiplied by negative 4 squared minus 32. So negative 4 squared equals 16. 16 multiplied by 2 equals 32. And then 32 minus 32 equals 0. And because y equals 0, so h of 0 equals 0, which then the right side equals 0. Therefore, 0, 0 is true to this equation. So now what we have to do is figure out when another value, when y equals 0, what is the t value? So what we want to do is look for a number is when we multiply it into, or when we add it to the equation of x, we should get 0, 0 on both sides. So let's do h of 1. If I do h of 1, I get 2, and then 2 parentheses 1 minus 4 squared minus 32. 1 minus 4 equals negative 3. Negative 3 squared equals positive 9. And positive 9 multiplied by 2 equals 18. Then 18 minus 32 gives me negative, let me do my mental math here really quickly, negative 14. And then h of 1 equals 0. We see that both sides don't equal each other, therefore A is incorrect. So let me do B now. So h of 2 equals 2 multiplied by 2 minus 4 squared in parentheses minus 32. 2 minus 4 equals negative 2. So negative 2 squared and multiplied by 2 minus 32. There's a lot of 2's here. So negative 2 squared equals positive 4. Positive 4 multiplied by 2 equals 8. And then 8 minus 32 gives us negative, let me do my mental math again, negative 24, which h of 2 just again equals 0. And as we can see, they still don't equal each other. So therefore B is incorrect as well. Let's plug in C now. So h of 4 equals 4 minus 4 squared minus 32. 4 minus 4 equals 0 squared, 2 minus 32. Remember, anything multiplied by 0 is 0. Therefore, the answer here is only negative 32. And h of 4 equals 0. And they don't equal each other. Therefore, C is also incorrect. Therefore, our only answer is D. But let's plug in D in the equation to make sure the statement is true. So if I do h of 8, that equals 2 multiplied by 8 minus 4 squared minus 32. 8 minus 4 equals 4, and 4 squared equals 16, and then 16 multiplied by 2. Then 16 multiplied by 2, I get positive 32, and 32 minus 32, I get 0. And h of 8 also equals 0. And as we can see, both sides equal each other over here. Therefore, the statement is true. And the t constant is 8. So when y equals 0, the t value is 8. So now let's use Desmos. So if I use Desmos and if I plug it in, I see I have two x-intercepts when when h of x intersects the x-axis at the 2 points. And I get 0, 0, and 8, 0. Therefore, the only answer is D. Okay, this question is actually pretty difficult. When I tried doing it, I had a hard time understanding, but once I understood what the question was asking for and what I had to do, it was a pretty simple question. Unfortunately, because we have constants, this is a no Desmos question. No Desmos. You can use it, but honestly, I'm just going to say no Desmos because it's easier not to use it. So the function h is defined by h of x equals ax plus b, where a and b are positive constants. The graph of y equals h of x in the xy plane passes through point 0, 10, and then negative 2, and then negative 2, and then 325 divided by 36. What is the value of ab? We're given a lot of information, honestly. So let's go through and digest everything. So we're given the equation h of x. So I'm going to rewrite it. H of x equals ax plus b. And I'm going to highlight that in blue. And we're given that h of x passes through points 0, 10, and negative 2, and then 325 divided by 36. Let's notice one thing here. We can notice that x equals 0, and we have a y value. This is a y-intercept. So y-intercept because x equals 0, and I have negative 2 and 326. Let's use the first point 0, 10 to figure out our value of b. So when h of x equals 0, that equals a of 0 plus b, and h of 0 equals 10. So, because it's y, so I'm going to rewrite it. 10, and we can look for b. So anytime that the exponent, I'm going to rewrite that. This is an exponent rule. So anytime I have x or any constant or number with the power of 0, that always equals 1. So a to the power 0 equals 1. So I have 10 equals 1 plus b. Subtract 1 on both sides. I get b equals 9. Now we know our y-intercept. So I'm going to rewrite the equation that's blue and write b equaling 10. Or equaling 9, I'm sorry. So 9. Let me make that a little bit more prettier. So, oops, so plus 9. So now what I want to do is to use the second equation to look for the value of a. So I'm going to do it in green. So when h of x equals negative 2 or 325 divided by 36, so when h equals negative 2 or 325 divided by 36, so 325 divided by 36, that equals a to the power of negative 2 plus 9. Okay, this looks pretty complicated, but let's make this easier by subtracting 9 on both sides. So minus 9 on the right side, this cancels out, and then minus 9 on the left side. So if I subtract 9 on the left side, I gotta multiply 9 by 36, so negative 9. So negative 9 times 36, I get negative, so I'm going to rewrite it, negative 324, so minus negative 324 over 36. If I combine like terms, because the 36 is the same denominator, I get 1 over 36, which equals a to the power of negative 2. So let me write this here. 1 divided by 36 equals a to the power of negative 2. The good thing about exponent rules is that I can rewrite the whole equation, because a, so this is power rule, right? And for those taking calculus, this is an important rule. If I have x to the power of negative 1, that basically equals 1 over x. So in this case, a to the power of negative 2, I can rewrite that as 1 over a to the power 2, or squared. So now what I want to do, I want to reverse the whole equation. And if we reverse the whole equation or multiply 36 and a squared, I can rewrite it as 36 equals a squared. So now I can see that a, so when I do square root, I get a by itself, and I get a equals plus minus 6. However, they tell me here, and this is important, that a and b are positive constants. Therefore, a only equals positive 6. So let me plug that into the h of x in blue. So let me rewrite it over here. So h, oops, instant highlighter. So h of x equals 6x plus 9. So now that we know that a equals 6 and b equals 9, I can look for what they're asking for. What is the value of a multiplied by b? So if I do 6 multiplied by 9, I get 54, and that is our answer, C. Again, this question looks very confusing, but once you understand what you have to do, what they're looking for, this question is pretty simple. Okay, this will be the last question that we'll be going over today, and this is a Desmos question. So let me get my Desmos. Oops, let me get Desmos and just refresh. Oops, my mistake. You refresh it, so let me plug in the equation, but I'll do that after, once we figure out what we're asking for and how to solve it. So the function f is defined by the given equation. For what value of x does f of x reach its minimum? So I'm given f of x. So f of x equals x plus 7 squared and then plus 4. And they're asking me, when does f of x reaches its maximum, or what value of x does it reach its maximum? So remember, I'm going to draw it out over here. So when we have a parabola, because it's a parabola, right? When we have a max, it looks like this, right? When we have a min, the parabola looks like this. So the max happens here, and the min happens here. But in this equation, we're asking for max, we use this type of graph. But we don't need that. But if you use Desmos, that's how it would look like. And we'll use it a little bit once we figure out what do we have to do. So what I'm going to first do, actually, is expand this whole equation. And you'll see why. So if I do f of x equals x plus 7 and multiply to x plus 7 plus 4. If I were to do FOIL, I get x squared plus 14x plus 49 and then plus 4. So if I combine like terms, I get x squared plus 14x plus 53. Okay, and they're asking me when does f of x reaches its minimum. I'm sorry, it says minimum, so you use this graph. That's my mistake. Sorry, I thought that's a max. So there's a rule. So this is a formula, not on a reference sheet. So you need to know this. This is a formula of looking for x value in a vertex. And the vertex is basically the max and the min. So the red points that are in the right side. And the formula that we're going to use is negative b over 2a. So negative b over 2a gives us the vertex of the x of x. Yeah, the vertex, the x value in the vertex. And if we plug it into f of x, we can look for the minimum as well. So what do I have to do? Remember, the reason why I expanded it is that so it can be in a quadratic equation. Remember, quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c. So again, a equals 1, b equals 14, and c equals 53. So all I have to do is plug in a and b to figure out the vertex. So we use the formula negative b. So b multiplied by negative equals negative 14 over 2a. A equals 1. So 1 multiplied by 2 is 2. Therefore, my x value, so equals x, is negative 14 divided by 2, which equals negative 7. So x equals negative 7. So not positive 7, negative 7. So x equals negative 7, and that is our answer. If they were asking for the min, I just plug that in into the equation. So I'm going to write it over here. So when f equals negative 7, I get negative 7 squared equals 49. So 49 plus 14 multiplied by negative 7 plus 53. And if I plug that in into a calculator, negative 7 multiplied by 14, so negative 7 times 14, I'm left off with negative 98. So 49 minus 98 plus 53. So minus 98 plus 53. So if I combine like terms, or I just add everything honestly, plus 49 and then plus 53, plus 49. So if I do negative 98 plus 49 and then plus 53, I get 4. So f of 7, equals 4, and this is our min value. So let's look at Desmos and see if we get that. So if I plug in Desmos, so y or f of x equals x plus 7 squared plus 4, I can see that the min happens when x equals negative 7 and the min or the y value equals 4 if I plug in negative 7 to f of x. So therefore, as the question was asking, the x value when f of x reaches its min is negative 4, and they were asking the y value or the minimum value, that'll be positive 4. This is the last question for today. Thank you for watching.